G'day guys, it's Tim here. I hope everyone's having a great day and a great week. There's been some new research that's just been released today. I just stumbled across this myself, like I normally do about once a day, getting on the news.com.au website just to keep up to date with what's happening in the outside world. And right there sitting in front of me was an article about new research that's just been released that's revealed that more than 81% of Australians will not have enough to retire comfortably. Now, of course, this is no real surprise to me. I mean, this is something that I'm quite steeped in all the facts and figures about, how most Aussies are heading financially. But of course, a lot of people just simply don't know this. There's many Australians that are walking through their life with their eyes closed and their fingers crossed, hoping for the best. And of course, it's not going to end up that way. The other thing that came out today, and something that I guess might shock quite a lot, so for Gen Xers out there, so people that are born after 1984, if you want to be able to retire, what you're going to need is $4 million. That's what the new research says, $4 million, right? So, I think one of the things that's probably, pretty pertinent to do if you are planning on maybe being able to ever retire, is you might want to think a little bit about, for how long you've been working. How long you've been in the workforce and where you're at right now. Most Australians, 50% of Australians spend every single cent they earn. And, for most Australians, they don't own any assets outside of their own home. And of course, you've got to remember that if it's your own home, then it's not really an asset because you can't eat your house, okay? Your house can't fund your retirement. So, you've got to be building and acquiring an asset base outside of your own home, okay? It's one of the most, the biggest myths when it comes to financial freedom and building your wealth is that your house is an asset. Of course, the other one that we discussed in our Facebook Live just last week, business is not an asset either. Here's how you know. Go to a bank and try and borrow money against your business. Now, I know some of you might think, well, yeah, you can do that. You can get business loans, but keep in mind that they'll never lend you money with your business as security. They'll always want to know how much you owe on your house, how much equity you got in the house, because that's what they want to lend against. A real asset that's secure for them and not a business, okay? So keep in mind that, what most people are basically, most people's plans for some kind, if any kind of retirement is they're going to live off the pension. Probably what a lot of people don't know is a pension, you're talking, I think last time I checked, it was just over $13,000 for a single and $26,000 for a couple. So you're talking, that's less than a third than what you're going to need for a comfortable retirement. Basically what they're saying is to live comfortably in retirement, you're going to need around about $60,000 a year generated on your own. And that means if you don't have a mortgage, and of course 30% of pensioners or 30% of retirees, I should say, into retirement with a mortgage. So, some pretty dire figures. We saw also an article that came out last week from a futurist that expects that most of us, particularly people born more recently, are going to live until about 120 years of age, and most of us are going to have to work until about 90. Can you expect that? And look, I put these stats up in the back. This is something that we walk through with all of our clients, and this is the statistics that we've got from places like the ABS, the ATO. Some of the stats have come from Suncorp, but what we basically find is that the stats show that less than 1 in 10, or actually 9.1% of people, will end up self-funding in retirement. Okay, the other people are going to have to rely on a pension to survive. Okay, I know for most people, and the reason why superannuation exists is because the government figured out back in the 1980s that they weren't going to be able to afford to keep paying the pension because we live a lot longer nowadays. Superannuation currently, the average for people entering retirement is $230,000. And if you're looking at a 5% return, or maybe even 6.5%, but minus tax, you're talking $11,500 passive income per year. I don't know anyone here that can live off $11,500 a year. Okay, if the pension's still around, which it probably won't be by the time that many of us retire. Okay, maybe you get another $13,000 on that, but you're still living on $25,000 a year, and I don't know anyone that can live on $25,000 a year. Some other stats there, 30% of working Australians have not a single cent of superannuation. I know a lot of people think, well, how is this even possible? Isn't super law? But yes, but not for self-employed people. Self-employed people don't have to pay themselves superannuation. And of course, small business makes up 50% of the companies and businesses we have in Australia. So there's a large percentage of people which simply do not have any superannuation whatsoever. This is an ATO statistic actually. Currently, right now, 83% are entirely reliant on the pension to survive, and by the year 2047, so I know sometimes people are thinking that it's going to get better, but by the year 2047, that's only going to reduce by 3%. That pretty much matches up with the statistics that have been released today. That more than more than 80% of people are going to fall short of a comfortable retirement. Some other stats that I thought were really interesting. This was from a survey that was done by Suncorp about 2 years ago now, 18 months ago, 2 years ago. They surveyed baby boomers. So for people that don't know, baby boomers were the generation that basically came after World War II. We had a baby boom, hence the name baby boomers. And these are the people that are currently, starting in 2011. This is when they first started entering retirement. About 4 million Australians were set to hit retirement age over the next 10 years. Well, here's what they're currently saying. Almost half of them expect that they're going to have to work in their 70s. Can you imagine that? Having to work when you're like 75, 76, 77 years of age. And of course, most people that I speak to and talk to, they simply, the kind of work that they do, they simply won't be able to do when they're 75 years of age. And of course, that's backed up by almost a quarter of baby boomers that are going to have to work into their 80s. Okay, so some pretty scary stuff coming down the pipeline. And I'm sure, this is not a lot of fun to hear all these stats, but man, you've got to be informed. If you don't know what's really coming down the pipeline, then you're not going to be able to take the kind of action that you're going to need to take to get you where you need. And this is a service that we provide. We provide thousands of clients and have done so for a long time now with very high customer satisfaction ratings. So, share this information with you as a bit of a service. This is some of the stuff and some of the strategies that you can use, some of the habits you can build to actually alter this stuff. This is what we offer at our workshops, our free workshops. So if it's something that interesting you, I really recommend that you reach out, get in touch, and let us see how we can help you. But like I said, wanted to share the information with you guys. Of course, want to get your feedback as well. So if you like what I'm saying, click like. If you don't like it, click angry. And if you've got a comment or a question, please comment it in the box below. I'll also post a link to the article that I came across today in the box below as well, so that you guys can stay up to date. All right, look, guys, that's pretty much from me. We've got a couple of big workshops this weekend, one in Melbourne, one in Perth. If you come along to our workshops, look forward to seeing you there. If not, we look forward to either seeing or hearing or speaking with you soon. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of the week and a great weekend. Good night.